For this video, we'll take a look at how students will progress through Unit 4 to using a number line to compare numbers. The main focus to support this standard is for MBT 3, where students will compare two-digit numbers based on the value of the tens and ones digits, recording the results of comparison with the symbols less than, greater than, or equal to. So students will begin this unit by linking it into their measurement work. This will build upon the previous experiences that they have had in kindergarten, where students use non-standard forms of measurement to identify which object would be longer or shorter based upon how many of those non-standard units were needed. So in looking at the green stick and the purple stick, students would be able to identify that the green stick is longer and the purple stick is shorter because the green stick needed more of the non-standard units to match its length, again, whereas the purple one did not need as many since it only needed 4. So students will link this into their measurement work, and starting in lesson 6, they will begin to add the labels or the symbols that go with those labels of greater than or less than. So as they're introducing this in lesson 6, there is a video to support the introduction of those symbols. And we also want to make sure we're staying away from using the alligator mouth story so that students really focus on the use of the greater than or less than symbol itself, and not getting confused with other extra pieces. As students begin to get more comfortable with using these, we will continue to keep the words with them so that they can associate each of the symbols with the words that they've been saying since kindergarten. As these get a little bit more fluent for them, then we will start to work with greater than or less than when it comes to using just numerals. So in some of the lessons, it is suggested to bring back your pan balance or your number balance. So in using these in the classroom and giving students two numerals to compare, you want to make sure that they can physically put in the amount. So not using a digital one, but wanted to make it easy to be seen on the video. So if students were going to be comparing the number 14 to the number 23, they could physically put in 14 counters or manipulatives on one side, and then on the other side of the counter, they could physically put in 23. As their fluency increases, hopefully they will be ready to say 14 is less than 23 before needing to prove it. If they're still showing inconsistencies, this is a great tool because they can pull all the manipulatives out and go back to lining them up like we did in kindergarten with smaller amounts to reinforce that 14 is less than the 23. As students become more familiar with being able to move fluently between those numerals, you can also bring in a number balance, which is noted in lesson 9, where they can continue to get a little bit more of a visual support there, but also still using mainly the numerals. Then as students become more confident in their abilities with the numerals, then they will start to add in the words to match. So just looking at the numerals, they would then be able to say 14 is less than 62, 55 is greater than 30, and then eventually transitioning away from those words to just being able to use the symbols as we start to become more fluent with it. If students are still showing some inconsistencies, we can bring back the number line so that students can map out where the numbers are and also still be able to have some visual support to see that 21 would be less than 30, and they could even identify how many more less than 30 it would be before adding in their symbol or even their word. So if students are still inconsistent with identifying greater than or less than as we move towards the numerals, feel free to bring back some of the visual representations that we can use, the manipulatives, the number balance, the scales and balances, to support them as they begin to trust the numerals more.